You're listening to Keith Sports News. Oh yes. Y'all know this theme music. Yep. That's right. Welcome to KSN episode 15. Why am I playing this music? Well, because it is Super Bowl weekend. The NFL on Fox, because that's the network that will be hosting Super Bowl 59. So yes, happy Super Bowl weekend. People like to get some good food for the big game. That's like the number one thing that people would do is get good food, you know, and my parents and I, we usually do that as well. Mainly pizza. Who doesn't like pizza? If you want to know my favorite pizza place, I like a lot of different pizza places, but I would say I like Domino's. I really do like Domino's pizza. So I don't know if I'll get Domino's for the Super Bowl or somewhere else, but I guess I'll let y'all know in the next episode on Monday. But yes, Super Bowl weekend has arrived, and I will be previewing the big game. But before we do that, there are some other news that I want to talk about, and I will talk about that right now. Also, for those of you, before I talk about that, for those of you that follow my main channel, my favorite game is American Truck Simulator. Not too long ago, the game hit its 9th anniversary, and I am very close to 100 episodes of that game. So, how about we play some trucking music while I talk about this other sports news. Okay, here we go. So, I know all week, obviously, the Super Bowl, they hype it up. That's why there's an extra week in between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl. Excuse me for a moment. Let me turn on my ceiling fan. I forgot to do that. Okay. Now I'm ready. And also, this week was a big week. A lot of big NBA news. Now, I've never talked about the NBA on this channel because I don't watch the NBA. I am not an NBA fan. I know a lot of people like watching the NBA. I get it. I'll hear a little bit of it until, I guess, the playoffs and the NBA Finals. That's about it. I really only watch the finals. Sometimes I don't even watch the finals. I'm just never really got into the NBA or really basketball in general. I mean, I'm slightly into March Madness, which is in about a month and a half, you know, the big college basketball tournament. Because every year I do my March Madness bracket fill out on ESPN.com. So, yeah. But, yep, I do know about the big NBA news where Luka Doncic was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. Didn't he play? I think he played for the Dallas Mavericks, right? And wasn't he in the NBA Finals last year? His team? I don't know why he got traded. Well, he traded with Anthony Davis, I believe. Anthony Davis from the LA Lakers to the Dallas Mavericks. So, very strange. Very bizarre. And I heard that Luka is going to make his LA Lakers debut this weekend. So, I guess everyone will be watching that game. Isn't it the night before the Super Bowl, or is it 2 nights before? I don't know. I really don't follow the schedule. I really don't know which team is the best team right now in the NBA, and I don't know which team is the worst team in the league right now. Unless if I look at the standings, then yeah. But people have been talking about that because that is huge news. So, and I heard, what was it, like last week, that Jimmy Butler got suspended, and didn't he get traded too? Let me look that up real quick. He is now on the Golden State Warriors. Okay, so that is real news. That is weird that all this is happening during Super Bowl week. Also, the NBA All-Star Game is coming up. I believe that is the weekend after the Super Bowl. I don't know if it's Saturday night or Sunday night, but it would usually be around that time. And last year's NBA All-Star Game was heavily criticized because it was kind of a joke game. I didn't watch it, but that's what I heard. And I wonder if they're going to make any changes this year. They might, if I do somehow watch that. Also, I heard that the NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, was on the Dan Patrick show last week, and he got criticized by thinking about shortening the games, because you know how if you watch the NBA, there's 4 quarters, 12 minutes each. So that's 48 minutes. You know how the NFL and the NHL Hockey League, they both play 60 minutes. I don't know why the NBA doesn't play 60 minutes. Probably because there's a lot of fouls and stuff like that. But you know, if you watch the Olympics last year, there are 4 10-minute quarters, and Adam Silver says he would be more interested in having the game be like that. So shortening the game 40 minutes instead of 48 minutes. Now, college basketball, they play 40 minutes. It's 2 20-minute quarters. I don't know why it's not the same as the pro basketball. Because, you know, college football and pro football, they both play 60 minutes. Same with hockey. I don't know why basketball can't do the same. Anyways, so that's really all I know about the big NBA news. Also some big baseball news in the MLB. Okay. I have not mentioned this yet, but I guess I'll mention it now. This week was the Caribbean series that they have every year during the first week of February, and I was watching or listening to some of the games on MLB Network. And after the game's over, they would show MLB Tonight, which is basically the baseball news show. And you know, because spring training is starting in a couple of weeks, which is preseason, and I would hear some big news. The first big news that I heard was that an umpire got fired. An umpire got fired. Isn't that weird? His name is Pat Hoberg, and that is a shame that he got fired, because he's actually one of the best umpires in the league. This is the same umpire that was the home plate umpire in Game 2 of the 2022 World Series between the Houston Astros and the Philadelphia Phillies. What happened was, if you remember that game, or if you heard at the time, he umpired a perfect game, meaning he got no calls incorrect, no balls and strikes calls incorrect, based on his strike zone, his performance. That is crazy. That is the same umpire The same umpire who just got fired. That's a shame. And I looked him up, and apparently he did not umpire any games in the 2024 season, which I didn't know that, because I used to watch the MLB a lot, but not as much anymore because of all the changes. You know, it's not the same league from, 10 years ago. But I still would like to hear some news throughout the year. That's why one of my favorite sports talk shows to listen to is Baseball Tonight, the podcast on the ESPN app with Buster Olney. Alright? So, this umpire got fired, and that is a shame. But I heard that he can be reinstated as early as the 2026 spring training. So, I guess we'll have to wait a whole year if any other news happens from him. But he really is a great umpire. When I first started watching the MLB, my main focus was on the umpires. And this was like 2013 when I first started getting into sports. Then over the years, I started watching more and more baseball games, and I started realizing, wait, that this is the same umpire that people don't like. Oh, it's this umpire that ruined the perfect game. I'm familiar with their names because, the announcers would say their names, who they are. And if you pay attention, they have a uniform number on the right sleeve. So whenever I see that number, I know who it is. Isn't that weird? Like I got really deep into the umpiring crews and stuff like that. So, but wow. Pat Hoberg, great umpire, got fired. The same umpire that umpired a perfect game in the 2022 World Series. I hope he comes back, because he seems like a really chill guy. So outside of baseball, but yeah. Another big news is that Pete Alonso is staying on the New York Mets, and I'm glad he is staying with the New York Mets because, man, the New York Mets are going to be a fantastic team after getting Juan Soto. Oh, that's a team that can actually win the World Series. And isn't that crazy? Like a couple years ago, they spent so much money on Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer and their old pitchers, and they didn't play so well, and they got released the same year, mid-season, and somehow they can afford all that money for Juan Soto. Okay, I hope this team at least gets to the World Series. Last year they were close. They went to the National League Championship Series, but they lost to the eventual World Series champions, the LA Dodgers. But you know what? I think that's probably what's going to happen in a rematch. Another rematch in the playoffs between the Mets and the Dodgers, and maybe the Mets can win this time because they got Juan Soto. So, yeah, Pete Alonso is staying. And yeah, we had to wait for a while because for months he was a free agent. It's like, oh, what are we waiting for? I guess he's waiting for a good deal, and he finally got a deal with staying with the New York Mets. So, now there's another player that I really like, Alex Bregman, who was on the Houston Astros, which is my favorite team for years. I think he's still a free agent, because I have not heard any news about him, but I don't know what team he'll be going to. I know he'll go to some team because he's a great player. So, anyways, yep, some big news for basketball, baseball, There's also some big hockey news I'm going to share with you as well. Also, if you're an NHL fan, they would usually have the NHL All-Star Game also around this time of the year, but they're not having it this year. What they're having is basically a little Olympics preview of next year, because next year's Winter Olympics will happen. Alright? So, there will not be an NHL All-Star Game in 2025. Instead, they're having something called the Four Nations Face-Off, which is an international ice hockey tournament scheduled to take place on February 12th to the 20th in two cities, the Bell Centre in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and the TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts, in the United States. 4 teams. I'm reading this on Wikipedia, so this starts in a couple of days. In a few days, this will begin. Okay, we got Canada, Finland, Sweden, and the USA. Actually, this is actually more exciting. I am looking forward to this. I'm sure I'll remember this because every night, almost every night, I would watch a TSN Sports Center, which is basically the Canadian version of ESPN, because I like that version better. And they talk a lot of hockey, because if you watch the American Sports Center, they barely talk about hockey, even though ESPN shows games sometimes. So, but that doesn't bother me, because, you know, I have this illegal app on my Fire Stick. But yes, some good news. NHL players can be in the Olympics next year, finally. Last time they were in the 2014 Winter Olympics. They were not in the 2018 and 2022 Olympics, Winter Olympics, and I forget why. I forgot why, but I'm glad they will be coming back. So, yeah, well, I'll keep my eyes on that. And also, not too long after that will be the speaking of TSN, every year they host this big curling event. Yeah, curling is also Canada's great sport. It's called the Scotty Tournament. It's women's curling. Let me see. Scotty's Tournament of Hearts. Yeah, the past 2 years or so, I would like to watch that. Really good. It's all Canadian curlers in women's curling. So yeah. All right. So those are some other sports news that I want to talk about. And now let's talk about the big game. Super Bowl 59. 59? You know, my father, he's watched every Super Bowl live. So why stop now? That's amazing. You know, some people, they probably do the same with WrestleMania, you know, the big WWE show of the year. This year will be WrestleMania 41. I might talk a little bit about the WWE leading up to this year's WrestleMania. Well, I guess I'll talk about a little bit now. I did watch the Men's Royal Rumble. And there's another show that I really like listening to during this time of the year on Sirius XM. It's called Busted Open with Dave LaGreca, who is Don LaGreca's brother, older brother. The greatest wrestling talk show. So, yeah. I'll be listening to that show until WrestleMania, which is in about 2.5 months from now. But the only thing I did actually watch the first Monday Night Raw show on Netflix, and I find it pretty entertaining. Then I decided to watch the Men's Royal Rumble, And I find that entertaining as well, and it was unpredictable, and it really was. So, am I happy that Jey Uso won? Yes, I was happy. But on YouTube, on the internet, it seems like a lot of people were not happy. But what Dave LaGreca said was the Royal Rumble was in Indianapolis with over 70,000 people, and there was no booing. When Jey Uso won the Rumble, there was no booing. Everyone was cheering. It's because he eliminated John Cena. John Cena, obviously, many would say he's the greatest of all time, and he's planning on retiring. At first, I thought he was going to retire after WrestleMania, but no, he's going to retire until the end of this year. So, and now John Cena has announced that he will be in the Elimination Chamber match, which I will watch that, which means he's probably going to win that. So, yeah. Okay, well, all the American Truck Simulator music has been played. So, now let's talk about the big game. Here we go. The main event of the evening, or of the weekend. Sunday evening. So, a rematch from 2 years ago. The Kansas City Chiefs, once again in the Super Bowl, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of people are sick of these two teams, especially the Kansas City Chiefs. I understand why they're sick of them. Because you have a group of people that are sick of them because they want to see a different team. They want to see a different AFC team in the Super Bowl, like the Buffalo Bills. Yes, I would want the Buffalo Bills to be in the Super Bowl. Everyone would. Everyone. If you're not a Chiefs fan, even if you're not a Buffalo Bills fan, you want that team to be in the Super Bowl. So, then you got another group of guys that don't like the Kansas City Chiefs because it seems like they didn't belong in the Super Bowl. The officiating was heavily criticized. You know, they won 15 games. A lot of their wins were close wins, but a win's a win. A win is a win. You know? Then I guess you got these group of guys who are just Taylor Swift haters. I'll just say, if you want to know, I am not a Taylor Swift fan, but I am not a Taylor Swift hater. And I know it pisses people off whenever they show her at the game. Not me, because I'm not a big NFL fan, so I really don't really care, but I do care about the game. I will watch the game. This will be the first Super Bowl that I will watch since 2018, Super Bowl 52, which also featured the Philadelphia Eagles. People are chiefed out, meaning they're tired of the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm actually not tired of them. I really don't mind if they win the Super Bowl again, because like I said, I'm not a big NFL fan. But I hope it's a good game. Like, it might be a good game like 2 years ago. When they had that Super Bowl 2 years ago, it was a good game. Even though I didn't really watch it. I just watched the TSN Sports Center highlights with Jay Onright. But it was a good game. I think this game will be good as well. Will it be high scoring like 2 years ago? I think it will be. The biggest difference is that Saquon Barkley is in it this time. He wasn't in that Super Bowl 2 years ago because he was with the New York Giants. Alright. So, it's hard to pick who will win. The ESPN's matchup predictor has the Philadelphia Eagles with like a 50% chance of winning that game. You know, I still can't believe they scored 55 points in the NFC Championship game, which is a record. So, I think it will be a close game. Obviously, the Chiefs haters, they want the Eagles to win. I'm afraid if the Eagles don't win this Super Bowl this time, I'm afraid they might burn down their city. But do you remember when they won that Super Bowl 7 years ago? They were like destroying their city. It's almost like they're protesting it, protesting the game. But Philly fans are crazy, that's why there's also quite a lot of people that also don't like the Eagles. You know, two of your least favorite teams. You know, um, Super Bowl 51 featured the New England Patriots and the Atlanta Falcons. That was two of my least favorite teams at the time because at the time I was sick of Tom Brady and the Patriots, and I was a big Saints fan, and their rivals were the Atlanta Falcons. So I actually cheered for the Atlanta Falcons because they've never won a Super Bowl, and I got tired of the New England Patriots. So I think more people are going to cheer for the Eagles. And I do think the pressure is on the Eagles because Kansas City, they're in their third straight Super Bowl appearance. That's never happened before, I don't think, in history, where a team has gone to 3 consecutive Super Bowls. And the Kansas City Chiefs are looking to make history by becoming the first team to win 3 straight Super Bowls. Now, I think a lot of you guys don't know this because we're going back in time when I say this. The Green Bay Packers won the first 2 Super Bowls, okay? We're going back over 55 years ago. So obviously, you have to be an old guy if you remember that game. But I also heard that they won before the Super Bowl was born. You had the NFL championship game. And the Green Bay Packers, so Super Bowl 1 was 58 years ago. So, what is that, 1967, I think? So, the year before Super Bowl 1, or I should say, the season before Super Bowl 1, the Green Bay Packers won the NFL championship game. So, technically, the Packers have won 3 consecutive football championships, but nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody thinks about that. You know? That was a different time. The league was different back then. Every sports league was different back then. Let's be real. This is really the modern era. So, I will now give you my prediction. I think it will be a close game. Who do I want to win? Well, part of me wants, like I said, I don't mind if history is being made, but part of me wants to see Saquon Barkley win the Super Bowl. But at the same time, I really won't be cheering for a team. I just hope it's a good game. I hope it's like from 2 years ago. But something tells me that the Kansas City Chiefs always find a way to win, and I'm going to go with them. I'm going to go with the Chiefs, and I think they'll win by a field goal. They might kick a game-winning field goal again like they did 2 years ago, so I guess I'll go, I don't know, 37-34. Yeah. We'll see. If the Chiefs win, we'll see how many dislikes the highlight video will get, because there were a chunk of dislikes when they won the AFC Championship game. By the way, the President of the United States will be at the Super Bowl. My father told me that, and he also said that that has never happened where a President of the United States has gone to a Super Bowl. I guess Donald Trump is the first president to go to the big game. So you got Donald Trump and Taylor Swift, 2 of the most popular people on the planet. Okay. Also, one last thing. I almost forgot. I will do a live stream on my main channel of me watching the second half of the big game. So kickoff is at, what, 5:30? I don't think it's going to start at 5:30. It's probably going to start at 5:45. Then you got that long halftime show. So probably around 7:15 p.m. Central Time is when I'll go live. And if you're available, we can watch the game and chat together. So yeah. All right, guys. Enjoy your Super Bowl Sunday and have a great night. I will talk to you guys again on Monday to see my thoughts and everything. All that chaos. Have a good night. Good weekend. Thank you for listening to Keith's Sports News.